Sisi was in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai to attend the World Government Summit that is taking place there from the 13th until the 15th of February. The meeting today, this year, is under the slogan shaping future government. We would like to shed more light on this, so we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Mohammed Abdel Halim, Professor of Political Science and Economy. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Well, Doctor, Egypt is attending the participation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Dubai in the World Government Summit 2023, with Egypt being the guest of honor on this edition under the title "Shaping Future Government." Could you give us an idea about the importance of Egypt being the guest of honor in the 10th edition of the World Government Summit?
Rightly so. I mean, this is supposed to be the biggest governmental communion, actually, on an international level, abiding more than 150 states, as much as about 20 presidents, and around 10,000 of those who are in charge and leaders of, economy of commerce in the meantime. As you might have said right now that this is one of the biggest in its own kind under the title or the slogan of shaping the future of the Arab government, actually, in United Arab Emirates, in which Egypt is supposed to be the guest of honor. And this is not the first time, actually, for Egypt to be received as a guest of honor for His Own Excellency, Mr. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, during the course of the last 2 weeks that he was received also as a guest of honor during his own, tour in India, Azerbaijan, and ending with Armenia. The sort of which that was to be hailed to a greater extent by the Indian administration. The fact that the sort of summit or conference actually is a pioneering one indeed for almost all the Arab countries. That sort of slogan that would underline the fact that almost all the governments on the part of the Arab countries actually are very much concerned with sharing the same ideas and responsibilities, plans and planning in the meantime. We're on a ministerial level in the meantime, and very much distinguished businessmen, very much prominent ones actually, particularly of the private sector, who are very much interested in shaping the future of their own countries, including Egypt as a guest of honor. This is supposed to be, a sort of a summit of prime concern in which the Egyptian presidency is celebrating and is very much sharing with a high-profile delegation, actually, and the summit. It was commonly regarded, as one of the most distinguished summits in which Egypt is very much feeling its own relations with brotherly Arab countries, actually, and sort of a summit in which, Mr. President Abdel Fattah discussed and examined the 3 or 6 major dimensions, actually, that will be abided by in the due course of time after His Own Excellency's return today. I think that the summit and the participation of the high delegation on the part of the Egyptian presidency was held to a greater extent. And dimensions and 6 agendas, actually, that had been discussed during the course of the last 2 days is the maximization of the development and establishing the governance. During the course of the summit, the participants, particularly the Egyptian presidency, is very much concentrating of empowering the government, of establishing very good and very much usable and viable models, governmental models, I mean, as much as policies, technological aspects, modern technological means. During the course of, their own examination of all these subjects, they are aiming at the now and again of highlighting and re-establishing the governmental services in its own serviceable and presentable shape. In addition to the innovation in the meantime, representing the quality control as much as the digitalization It was one of the major issues of which Mr. President Abdel Sisi is very much concentrating during the course, of the summit during yesterday. The first thing I mentioned was very much concerned with the future of the communities as much as the medical health. The sort of the thing that the Egyptian presidency is striking a very good role at representing, how it turned out to be very much exemplary.
Yes, Dr. Abdel Halim, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have made during his participation in the summit an analytical response and gave statements before the conference. So if you please could shed light on the importance of the statements by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, during which the President have presented Egypt's developmental model in several fields like the infrastructure, health, education, social development, and also sustainable development and other fields.
Yeah, perhaps I think His Own Excellency is very much representing and underlying the truth of the medical health and the future of the communities, particularly the villages. Egypt, as I said, is always keeping hand and representing and stretching a hand of representing how it would, in somehow or another, very much collaborating in almost all the services, particularly the medical services and ethics. And we have got the, 100 million health as much as the act of putting an end for virus C, reaching to a 0 point. Actually, the region of awareness of which the presidential authority was very much concerned with putting an end for that sort of very much threatening life disease to the extent that almost all the European countries would hail the achievements and the values that had been exerted and asserted in the part of our own presidential authority and of keeping the health actually, of the ordinary Egyptian citizen actually in its own viable and presentable state. In addition to, the communication and discovery of new horizons, actually, very much scientific, economic, technological, building and establishing a large number of technical universities, as much as very much specialized technical during the course of His Own Excellency's words, at the round table of million companies actually yesterday on the sideline of the participation of the events of that sort of summit, His Own Excellency was very much interesting of representing, of clarifying, of identifying the exertion of a maximal deal of effort on the part of His Own Excellency as much as on the ministerial level actually of perhaps exerting and of providing more than $1 trillion for the electricity section to the extent that the ruler of Dubai, His Own Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, is very much hailing the active and the vital role of the Egyptian presidency in solving the problematic situations on both local and international level. Mr. President Abdel Fattah again confirmed the privacy and the sense of the deep relations with, all other Arab countries, particularly Saudi Arabia and the Gulf area countries. And Egypt is being represented as very much acknowledging the great deal of role during the course of the revolution of the 25th of January, particularly His Own Excellency Mohammed bin Rashid's advent and, helping and providing a helping hand for the Egyptians at moments of distress, actually. The attendance of His Own Excellency Mr. Abdel Sisi as a guest of honor, inaugurating the central session at Dubai and representing and underlying in the meantime, the economic challenges and the political deteriorating, situations during the course of the revolution of the 25th of January is very much evaluative and very much highlighting, representing the source of the role that is played during the course of the time, how he was very much forced with the advance of the Muslim Brotherhood, with their own devastating attempts actually of reaching with the country, with reaching with the people, to a very dark tunnel at the end of the day, had it not been for the advance and interference on his own part, side by side with the people's assistance, the Egyptian people's assistance in the meantime, and asking him to participate to put an end for that sort of agenda or fight. Very much representing in the meantime and concentrating for the principality of Dubai, for the United Arab Emirates, for Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, representing how their own country is very much represented and hailed as a sort of a good example to be followed, as an exemplary country or state, underlying the participation and a great deal of bankers participating and representing new evaluative ideas for facing almost all the challenges, and the participation of His Honor Excellency Mr. President on the head of high delegation, what reflects the depths of the very deep ties and the good relations between the two countries, and the truth of the role that is being played by Egypt on international and local level. I think, Mr. President of Sisi is representing a very good example on an international level for almost not only the European countries, but almost for all the world, for Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, as much as Mohammed bin Rashid, actually, on an international level of how, we wouldn't be very much careful about the sort of the rumors and the sort of the mischievous attempts on the part of some social media, on the part of social platforms, actually, that are very much attempting to no avail, the good relations and firm ties between Egypt on the one hand and between, the Gulf area in detail on the other. There are a large number of very good investments, communications on both political, cultural, as well as commercial level, cultural representation and diplomatic relations between the countries. I think, the sort of, the representation in the world that has been represented by His Honor Excellency is very much straightforward and direct message. I still remember his own words yesterday when he did say at one time that a sort of individual country that is to be demolished or devastated will never ever actually be able to restore and regain its own sovereignty again. A sort of a thing, in the meantime, an inducement and sort of an invitation for almost all the Arab countries to be as much as unified as can, and to represent their own sense of solidarity, to put an end for all the mischievous social platforms and all the rumors, all the very much taciturn attempts on the part of some countries and some...
Yes, Dr. Abdel Halim. Yes, Dr. Abdel Halim, your voice is not clear. There's some distortion in your voice. If you could stand in a place where there's a good signal, it seems you're standing or surrounded by air, or I don't know.
Well, I will, ma'am. I will, ma'am.
Okay. So, Dr. Abdel Halim, if we review also some points of the speech by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, or the statements that he delivered during the conference yesterday, the President started from the beginning as he was presenting the Egypt's developmental model, and he spoke about the circumstances since he came to office and the repercussions of that Egypt have faced and the challenges since the year 2011 and the challenges that the Egyptians have faced, describing the Egyptian as they was facing desperation or was disappointed in since the year 2011, and his ability to be able to build the nation once again and to make a budget for the infrastructure and to be able to control this 100 million citizens with a large number of, and millions of students in schools and universities and the education field and the health field also. The president was able to explain what Egypt was going through the past 9 or 7 years and what Egypt is now have fulfilled. As the president said, that, for example, combating terrorism, now terrorism, the president said that now terrorism became something from the past. It's just a memory that we are speaking about. So if you shed light also on these important points that were mentioned by the president and the message that the president meant by these points.
Right. In the 25 minutes of his own inaugural speech yesterday was very much representing and underlying a large number of, attempts on his own part as much as his own government to represent a sort of a very severe history in Egypt. That was about, after the revolution of the 25th of January. The sort of, devastation and the bloodshed, the act of sabotage and the demolition of almost all these things and the interferences of a large number of intelligence agencies actually to try to demolish the infrastructure of Egypt. He would attract the attention of almost all the viewers by representing one main fundamental fact, which is how it was very much dire and very much difficult for himself as much as for his own cabinet ministers actually to try to rebuild and reestablish a unity, a society again for a second time than Israel, when all the superpowers actually were very much meditating in the meantime there, and then to try to demolish the infrastructure. It was what you might call the Arab Spring. He would represent the fact that almost all those countries that had been demolished, that had been devastated during the course of the revolution of January of the 2011, did not restore and regain their own power again. And had it not been for the Dutch decision actually and the order of God to be able to restore that sort of land again and to try to re-establish the bridge, reconstruct the city again, and in the meantime establish a bridge of confidence among these. Because during the time he would also represent and underline the acts of demolition and the terrorism and the terrorist acts and actions on a large scale that were about to devastate almost all the lives of the Egyptians. He was very much intelligent in representing and underlining the fact that it was very much difficult under all these circumstances, as much as very much dire to try to reestablish the infrastructure under such dire circumstances and very much harsh, relations with the other countries. And in the meantime, he would hail the attempts on the part of the Emirates, United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, of how they are very much stretching a very helping hand to help the Egyptian people to try to provide Egypt with oil, gas, merchandise items, and some aspects of daily routine to help the Egyptians in their own, daily routine and daily life. And he did say and underline the fact that, those countries who have been demolished and would lose their own superiority almost on their own territorial lands would never ever be able to regain and restore their own sovereignty again. That's why this is a sort of the axiom, this is the sort of the moralism, this is the didactic element that he was representing not only for the Egyptians but actually for the Gulf area and for the world at large, that, it's a through solidarity of providing helping hands, of community, of the sense of belonging to each other, the sense of loving kindness actually among the Arab people, that would seem to be quite the savior of almost all the tribulations that would face us in our own daily life. In addition to the fact that he was very much concerned of representing that, the acts of terrorism and terrorist actions that were about to sabotage and to devastate not only Egypt as being centralized in the middle of the or in the center of the Middle East, as perhaps the big sister for almost all the Arab countries, had it not been actually for the fact that it was to be saved at the last moment because of the attempt of His Own Excellency to recollect the sort of the confidence and to re-establish the infrastructure again, and to represent, Egypt as an exemplary, as a sort of example to be followed for almost all the Arab states.
Yes.
And in the meantime, hailing and representing his own deep sense of thanks for Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, actually, as much as for Saudi Arabia, and underlining the fact that this is the time that you have to put an end for all the mischievous tidings and news on the part of the social media.
I thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your valuable information. Dr. Mohammed Abdel Halim, Professor of Political Science and Economy. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. This is a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to be back with you.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi meets with world leaders.
أعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.